Hi everyone, Mr. Wright here, and welcome to this film in which I'll walk you through some of the harder questions on using products of primes and finding highest common factors and lowest common multiples. These questions are about grades 6, 7, 8, 9, I guess, and you'll want to get your head around these if you are trying to hit those top grades. You can download the questions by hitting the link in the description, and then you can do the questions in advance of watching the film or whilst you watch the film. Up to you. If you find the film useful, then comment, please do. Tell me what grade you're aiming for. Tell me what you found useful. And if you fancy liking the film, then that gives me a bit of a lift. And of course, if you're aiming to take your IGCSE Maths quite soon, you might want to subscribe to the channel, and then you will get notifications of all my new content. Right, let's get on with the maths. Good luck.
Question 1. Find the lowest common multiple of 5a and 7b. Well, 5a is just what a is, which is written at the top here, times by 5. So that is 5a. And 7b is simply 7 times b. Well, that's b. So if I just times that by 7, I've now got an expression for 7b. So 5a is 2 cubed times 3 squared times 5 squared, and meanwhile 7b is 2 squared times 3 to the power of 3 times 5 times 7. And to construct my lowest common multiple, I simply need to take the highest power of each of my factors and multiply them together. So the lowest common multiple is going to be 2 cubed times 3 cubed times 5 squared times 7. And if you put that in your calculator, you get the answer 37,800. That is question 1. Question 2. I've got to find the highest common factor of a and b and the lowest common multiple of a and b. I'm going to start by writing out the prime factors of a and b in columns so that I can see each factor separately. So there's my 3, 5, and 7s for number a, and b is 2 cubed, and then it's got a 3, and then a 7 to the power 4. Now, if I'm going to find the highest common factor, I'm going to construct that number. I need to take the lowest powers of each factor. Now, the lowest powers of 2 is 2 to the 0, or just no 2's at all. The lowest power of the 3 is the 3 to the 1. The lowest power of the 5 is 5 to the 0, or no 5's at all. And the lowest power of the 7 is 7 cubed. So my highest common factor of a and b is 3 times 7 cubed, which is 1029 on my calculator. Now, what about the lowest common multiple? Well, for the lowest common multiple, I've got my a, which is 3 to the power 5 times 7 cubed. And I've got my b, which is 2 cubed times my 3 times 7 to the 4. And this time, because I'm finding the lowest common multiple, I'm going to find the highest power of each of my factors. 2 cubed, 3 to the 5, 2 cubed, times 3 to the 5, times 5 to the 1, times 7 to the 4. And so that is my lowest common multiple of a and b. And if you put that in your calculator, you get 23,337,720. Question 3. Find the highest common factor of a and b. Well, a is 2 to the power of 1 and 3 to the power of 43. Now, what about b? Because b is 16 times 3 to the power of 37. Well, 16 is 2 to the power of 4. So b is 2 to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of 37. Now that's going to be easier. Find the highest common factor. So I'm going to construct this with the lowest power of each of my factors. So that is the highest common factor of a and b. Next, express the number a times b as a product of powers of its prime factors. So a is 2 times 3 to the power of 43, and b is 2 to the power of 4 times 3 to the power of 37. All I need to do now is to remember that when I multiply, I add the indices. 2 to the power of 5 times 3 to the power of 80. And that is A times B as a product of powers of its prime factors. Question 4. Write down the highest common factor of P and Q. Well, I've got P and Q here, and they're both written quite nicely already, look, with each factor in its own column. Now, the highest common factor, I'm going to take the smallest of each of the powers. So 3 squared times 5 times 7. 3 squared times 5 times 7, and if I put that in my calculator, I get the answer 315. Right, for B, work out the value of P cubed times Q. So I've got P cubed, which is going to be 3 to the power of 3 times 5 squared times 7, and that's cubed. 3 to the power of 3 times 5 squared times 7, and times itself again. 3 to the power of 3 times 5 squared times 7. And then I've got to multiply that by Q. Multiply it by 3 squared times 5 times 7 squared. So I've got 3 to the power of, remember you're going to add the indices, 6, 9, 3 to the power of 11, times 5 to the power of 2, 4, 6, 7, times 7 to the power of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There you go. Give your answer in the form 3 to the power of x, 5 to the power of y, 7 to the power of z, where x, y, and z are positive integers. I've done that, and there's my answer. Question 5. Right, we've got an expression for A and an expression for B, and we need to find the highest common factor of A and B. So we're looking for the lowest powers of each of those prime factors. Now, if m is greater than 2, then this 5 to the m must be 5 to the 2, 3, 4, or 5, 5 to something of 2 or more. So the lowest power of 5 is 5 squared. Now, if n is greater than 10, then the lowest this one could be is 7 to the 5. So the lowest power of the 7 will always be 7 to the 4. And if p is greater than 1, then this is greater than 1, so that must be 11 squared or 11 cubed or something like that. So the lowest power of 11 is 11 to the power of 1. So that is the highest common factor of A and B, and I've given my answer as a product of powers of its prime factors.
Okay, well done. Well, that is as hard as IGCSE questions on products of primes and lowest common multiples and highest common factors get. So, how did you find them? Tell me in the comments. Any questions? Anything that isn't clear? Anything you want a hand with? Tell me in the comments. Please do hit like. Please spread the word. Please give me a positive boost. And if you're preparing for your IGCSEs, then perhaps you should subscribe to the channel and be alerted whenever I release new content. Right, see you in the next film.